Great. Well, I hope everybody's doing well. You can't see me. Now you can see me. I can turn it back off if there's a vote. So I hope everybody's doing well. I see people are still arriving. So I'm going to give everybody a little bit of a chance to get into the meeting. Hope everybody's enjoyed their end of summer and the beginning of the school year if you have small people, and the advent of pumpkin spice if you don't. Let's at least over half of our members are here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start the meeting now. As you all know, I'm Keith Bamberger, and the chair of the Blue Horizons Project Community Council. And with those responsibilities, I get the pleasure of running this meeting once a month. And I want to start by thanking Michelle and Jamie for taking care of the meeting last month while I was on vacation. I appreciated that. And I'm going to just repeat the from our charter that the people in this committee are addressing the current climate crisis by supporting the community and achieving our goal of reducing energy demand and transitioning to 100% renewable energy by 2042. We will reach these goals through community engagement and collaboration with the Buncombe County, the City of Asheville, and Duke Energy. And I do really appreciate the commitment that everybody makes towards these goals, to taking the time to attend this meeting, the interesting and complex thoughts and conversations we frequently have at these meetings and at other moments. And of course, this summer, I have noticed I don't know, to me, it seems like an acceleration of good news, whether it's through technology or policy or individual businesses. So I'd like the voting members of the committee to just go through, introduce yourself, and just introduce one thing that really that's new and exciting. And well, to me, it's actually something that's old that we weren't allowed to use for a bajillion years, but now can use again. I'm really excited about hemp. Everything from hemp concrete to read an article about how they're experimented with using hemp to make batteries, which are both lighter and way cheaper than the lithium ion batteries and the batteries they're using in cars. There's so many different ways it can be used. And well, it's disappointing that we, for reasons which we won't go into here, have not been using hemp or researching it for 100 years here in this country, or at least 50 or 70. So I'm really excited about those creative options. Do something actually has a positive effect on the environment, because it's a good carbon sink on top of all that. I'm gonna pick on Dave next, because the way he looks at my where he's positioned on my screen. So,
I'm really excited about the fact that electric pickup trucks are real and not vaporware at this moment. The waiting lists are longer than anybody expected, and that has woken a few people up. So given that that's the vehicle of choice in this country, I'm really glad to see them electrify.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. Michelle?
Hi, everybody. Michelle Myers, community member. I One's kind of silly. So yesterday I saw a Papa John's delivery Tesla, which confused me, but also was like, okay, saturated. Here we go. I don't know how the math works on that one, but maybe they're getting reimbursed for gas mileage, which they have none. So that works. But also in the Inflation Reduction Act, my partner does life cycle analysis of alternative fuels and the inflation reductions, economic, but they're in trying to market specifically with hydrogen. So interesting.
Cool, thank you. We may actually invite him to comment on how that works in the future, because he's got his niche there, and it crosses over with our niche.
It's much international markets. There's not much we can control locally, but yes, if you ever want to, I'm sure he would be available.
Cool. Chris?
Hi, good afternoon. Chris Pellerine. I guess sticking with the EV world of things, I'm really interested and eager to see how the VTG type connection goes as it relates to grid interactivity, and how all the different pilots that are happening across the country, and to see that flourish and see EVs become more than just transportation. So.
Thank you, Chris. Jeffrey?
Hi, everyone. Jeffrey Barton from Mountain Housing Opportunities. I'll build on Michelle's good news. One thing I'm excited about in the Inflation Reduction Act is the pairing of affordable housing and solar, through some boosted incentives with the tax credit. So I haven't quite dug into the details on how we might be able to utilize that, but it's exciting to see the pairing of affordable housing and solar.
Great, thank you, Jeffrey. And Jason?
Hey, everybody. This is Jason Walls. Over the last year or half or so, I have fallen back in love with my fly rod. So I have found ways to get back outside and enjoy something that I had kind of forgotten how much I liked. And for the record, I'm actually in the market, and I have my name on a list for a Rivian pickup truck, Dave Erb. And while you're excited about the list, I'm not excited about the list in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not sure I have the patience to wait as long as they're telling me it's going to be, but I have my name on the list and my deposit is put down.
Well, Jason, I did get to see one of the Rivians at one of the Blue Ridge EV club meetings, and it is worth the wait, even if it may be years.
Well, so what I'm trying to figure out is, do I wait for the Rivian, or I have a better line of sight to the ID4 or the Mach-E or the Mustang Mach-E? So I'm trying to decide what phase of life I'm in.
Well, as long as you're using your midlife crisis, you might as well get a car you like. But it should be able to get to the fly rod streams. Well, thank you for sharing. The first order of business that we have today is approving the August meeting minutes. And I hope everybody got a chance to review them and watch the video if you were not at the meeting. Any discussion? Okay, well, I guess we need to have a vote to approve the meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
I second that.
So for everyone who would like to approve the minutes, say aye.
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 Anybody who chooses not to approve the minutes, say nay. And anybody abstaining, do so now. So our August meeting minutes have been approved. I'd like to open it up to a brief public comment period. If anybody who is not on, well, anybody can comment now. Anything that you'd like to discuss or have any, please feel free to speak now. Raise your hand and it makes it easier for me to call on you. All right, so we will move into our first new business, which is selecting new committee members. And Michelle has agreed to lead that committee. So I will turn over the discussion to Michelle. Thank you.
Sorry, I was playing with share screen. Could you guys see my PowerPoint presentation just a second ago or no?
Negative.
Bummer. Okay. I just got the Microsoft plugin for Mac like 2 days ago, and I don't know how to use it on Zoom yet, but that's okay. Been talking about this a bit with Jamie and Keith, and we have to, we're kind of inventing the wheel here on how our nominations and elections for new members after a cycle of folks terming off will work. So the first thing I'm going to throw out there, and if you are still thinking about it or would rather have a conversation in confidence, that's totally fine. But there are 4 members who are terming off, and you are eligible to serve an additional 3-year term. And I wonder if you felt comfortable, just so we kind of have an idea of how many folks we're looking for, letting the group know if you're planning to return or not. And anybody who has the answer right now, let me know. Does everybody know who is and who isn't? Do you know where you are in the queue in terms of rolling off the committee, or do you need that list again? Keith sent out an email on August 26th that has the complete list.
I'm going to see if I can find that list and bring it back up so we can all look at it. Okay.
Sure. I probably actually have it up. So we currently have 3 vacancies, and we haven't seen David King in a while, so that actually might be a 4th vacancy. And then there are 3 other folks that are rolling off. I think Chris, Keith, and there's one other person who is escaping me at the moment. So potentially we're filling up to 7 seats. And both for diversity, equity, and inclusion, but just I would love to see the next year with a full council. I think we need to kind of do a recruitment blitz. If you're not planning on coming back, I think it's a general good practice to replace yourself on a committee that you're serving on. So you might, whether it's in your group of colleagues, or if you work in an academic institution or some other agency, or even just, people, if you have anybody in mind or any listservs that you might be able to share the job description, which is in the notes. It's been reviewed a couple of times, including for kind of cultural competency. So it's ready to roll. And if anybody has any ideas or thoughts about where it might be shared, either by you individually or things like, oh, wouldn't it be great if it was post it on AVL today, or if you have any better ideas, actually, I would love to hear from the whole group about where would be a good place to post the job description and call for participants in the community council.
Could you share with us where it's being posted currently? Sorry if I missed that.
I think it is just being posted on our website currently.
Okay. And maybe like the Instagram page and Facebook page and things like that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm planning on sharing it to those as well.
Does anybody know of other institutes? So you can, on Facebook, of course, you can share it on other pages, not just I noticed that most Blue Horizons posts get, maybe 10 people to thumbs up or something. So we don't have the biggest reach in the world. One way to increase reach is to actually share to like-minded pages or pages of interest, or, generally related pages. You don't want to go out and spam the whole universe. Is anybody part of any pages or professional networks that they can think of sharing the job description on, social media or otherwise?
We should definitely share it on LinkedIn. Is one spot. And I think that in the city of Asheville, and that has a sustainability newsletter that goes out, and they've learned BHP things before, so we can out through that. And perhaps the county has one too, with their new sustainability environmental commission. So we can get them as well.
I think we should, I was going to ask the Land to Sky Clean Vehicles Coalition to share it among their members, which is more businesses and governments than, but I thought that would be a good place to share it.
Awesome. If we could share it on our own LinkedIn pages, I mean, we're all well connected on LinkedIn, maybe, I don't know. So if you could take a moment and share it on your LinkedIn page, because you are all professionals working in the field. People are always posting, come work with me. So, come replace me. come be on this committee that I've been on for a few years. I think that's a great endorsement. Any other might be able to share the application.
How about the Chamber of Commerce?
Sure. I know we had a few different, such as background noise. We had a few different categories of developers, and of course, Jeffrey is on here for affordable housing, but are there other places where we might reach people that are working in those in development?
We can share it on Greenbelt Alliance pages as well, and also ask the Humbers Association to show it. Residential market. In terms of the commercial market, the chamber is probably a better avenue for that. And we've been a member of the chamber, but I don't know if we're at the level where we can post something on their page. I don't know if Jason, if you're still, I imagine Duke's still a member of the chamber. If you could ask them to post something for us.
We are. It might be something that's appropriate to bring up to their public policy. The public policy lead, he would be a good person to talk to about how to, see if anybody was interested or how to promote that position.
I guess the chamber would also cover any like corporate groups, because we don't have anybody who really represents people who build big non-residential buildings. And that might be another group to get support from.
Great. Well, thank you for picking your brain a bit there. I will share the slide that I created today, but basically it just outlines a timetable So I'm asking, particularly if you are rolling off, if you would be willing to serve on a nominations committee with Jamie and myself. And this committee would meet one time in the next 2 weeks just to kind of review our process and to make sure that we are getting the word out about the opportunity to serve. Then we would review applications that come in, and they will be accepted until November 1st. And then between November 1st and November 8th, there will be a series of less than 30-minute Zoom interviews with the folks that are applying. And then we will make recommendations to the committee on November 8th. This gives us a little bit of buffer if for some reason we cannot get all of the, we have so many applications that we can't get them all done in that week's timetable. We also have the December meeting. So the goal would be to get it done within a week, maybe just block out an afternoon. I think a half-hour block out for each meeting, and then maybe keep it to 20 minutes and, have time for a break in between each one. We can get them done pretty quickly. And that's it. And that would be the total commitment. So I think it would be about one meeting outside of this meeting, and then probably one afternoon where we'd be doing interviews.
So Michelle, I'll go ahead and I'll reach out specifically to David King and see if he'll agree to that. He's not been really active on the board for a long time, and he let us know that when he left Western, that he was no longer going to be able to sit on the committee. I do, however, know David's replacement at Western, and I could ask him if he knows of anybody who would be a good replacement, or if he wants to be a replacement. So I'll go ahead and ask him, but I'll also reach out to David for us.
Do we have anything set up at the tabling events that is putting the word out about this?
We do.
Okay.
Jeffrey, thank you for your message. I'm taking note of that. Okay, anybody else who would really like to serve on the nominations committee?
I do. It's going to be great. Y'all should join.
If we meet in person, I will bring muffins. Okay. So actually, Chris, that's a great segue. Jamie has been doing a really good job of just promoting the opportunities that already exist to serve on the council. And there were 2 resumes that he sent out. And those are 2 people who are already interested in applying. So we do not have to wait until January to see vacancies. When I was selected to be on the council, I met with Keith, I think in September. I came to the September meeting, and I think I signed off so you guys could vote, and I was invited to come to the, as a member to the October meeting. So it is possible to schedule a Zoom or a coffee meeting with these 2 individuals and invite them to the next meeting. And then we would be able to vote at the next meeting whether or not to invite them to come on as members, which might be helpful. I mean, I think having more folks here, like right now, there are a handful of members on the call, but not that many. And if one thing we do need to decide is if people who are seeking reappointment on the commission or the council, are they going to have to recuse themselves from the vote of who gets to be seated? So there might actually not be that many voting members to even decide on who's going to be on the next council. So I think bringing members on sooner is helpful. There's always attrition. So, get some more blood in here and some bodies in the seats.
Hey, so Michelle, Micah or Mika, I don't know how she says it, couldn't make it today, but I did invite her. And Rocky, who's the other applicant, is probably going to join us shortly. I see Rick and Judy's question over here. So he was going to join us at the beginning, but I guess he had something come up at work. So when you see Rocky jump on, I think you say his name Rakesh, but he introduced himself as Rocky. Anyway, he could be joining us if we have a random person. That's one of the applicants.
Which he actually, I was there when he met Blue Horizons because I was helping Jamie at an event at the leaf event down by the summer leaf event down by the river. And yeah, interesting guy. And he's really excited about the work, which is cool.
Did everybody have a chance to look at those applications that are, I think one's a resume and one is they filled out the actual questionnaire plus have submitted their resume. And Jamie sent them out last night.
I have.
Does anybody have any reservations about, one has a lot of experience actually in renewable energy and sustainability planning. The other one has an engineering background with maybe less actual hands-on experience in renewable energy, but I think with a technical expertise.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Micah was the one that had a fair bit of marketing background, which certainly comes in handy as it relates to spreading the word. Yeah, and I agree that, having a nice balance of technically minded folks and, people who are better at socially engaging with the community, I think is a great mix. So I thought they were both great candidates from looking at the resumes.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed like they each would bring unique things to this council. But I guess I was curious, do we still use like that chart of area of representation? And I was kind of curious which specific role these candidates maybe saw themselves filling. One of them is in multimodal alternative fuel transportation, which seemed maybe like a role that Rocky would play. But I was kind of curious just if Jamie, you or the candidates themselves have identified what role they see on the council.
It wasn't one of the questions that we asked. I think there's 4 questions on the application, but we do list the roles on the application itself. It's like on the second page. So I feel agnostic about it. I think it's up to y'all, the council, to decide to perpetuate who the next members are. And so we can add that to the questionnaire on the job description if you'd like.
Well, in practice, and for the most part, I think we were treating these as guidelines rather than hard and fast rules, but they were so we have the ability to have some flexibility there also. Because they do look both like good candidates. I would support moving forward and interviewing them and things like that and taking those next steps.
Okay, so I think that'll probably be something we work into maybe the first meeting. I mean, I can, if they don't.
That makes perfect sense.
Or I can have coffee meetings with them and then report back at the next meeting.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, I think there is one decision the group has to kind of make, and that is if members seeking reappointment will recuse themselves, just because that kind of will decide how, how we're going to operate the nominations process a bit, like who gets to vote. So voting members can think about that for a moment and say, okay, if you're not coming back or you're not seeking reappointment, then you can vote. And if you are serving until 2023, you can also vote. So there would just be a few people who might be seeking reappointment.
I personally think it would be appropriate if they would recuse themselves. Can't imagine any of them are going to lose the reappointment. But, I do think it would be appropriate just on style, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I put in the note that I'm happy to recuse myself from the process.
Okay, that makes sense. That's in line with our other kind of just conflict of interest practices. So I think, again, we're creating something new. So not that we're here in a highly competitive process, but we're inventing the process for the future. So I think that might make sense. All right, well, that's all I have. You're still invited to be on the committee. If you find it of interest, feel free to reach out.
So should we make note in the minutes that we want to put that into our bylaws or our membership minutes, that when you're, I don't know how we would phrase it, or provide text for that in our membership guidelines? I just said all wrong words, the right words in the wrong order.
So
do we want
I
to
was
add
looking
that?
at the bylaws before this, in preparation for this meeting, and it actually, there's a non-hyper. There is a guide.
There is a guide. I think I have it open somewhere on my 3 computer screens, which is one of those problems with having 3 computer screens, I guess.
There's a new
Anyway,
membership
we did.
policy is what it says. Oh, here it is. Okay.
Yeah, we have a policy that we worked through and voted on how to add new members. So this should add to that, I guess. And that's where, if we want to, I was thinking then the notes, we should remind ourselves that we have to write up this so we can add it to that document, whatever we're inventing as we go along, if that makes sense.
Sure. I have the document and we will record the process in this section.
Yeah. Great. All right. Michelle, are we comfortable with where we are in the process? Any comments or questions from the people on the call? All right, well, we'll move on to the Community Engagement Committee Revival, which is my agenda item. Because the Blue Horizons Project has a pretty aggressive outreach goal for the year, attending 30 events and helping people to understand, in community outreach, how each individual choice can really help Buncombe County and the city of Asheville reach this 2042 goal. It also is a really good opportunity to reach out to businesses, and because you never know who's going to go by the events. And so to help achieve that goal, we've got a couple different, specific asks. One of the things that I know through my day job, and anybody who's worked in community outreach knows, it's really helpful to have partners, people who have similar goals and similar missions and sharing effort. And if you are a part of an organization which has climate goals or energy goals, and especially ones that do outreach, it would be really great if you could share their contact information with Jamie and myself, so we can start forming relationships with these different groups. And that way we can help move both organizations' goals forward. And like for one that we've been working on is getting the Clean Vehicles Coalition, their Clean Air campaign, which is the outreach group, trying to figure out ways we can work together. So if you have any partners like that, it would be great if you could just share the group if you don't know them, if you have a specific person who would be good to talk to, or if they have a regular meeting, just letting us know so we can help form those relationships. The other thing that the Community Engagement Committee really is working on is refining our outreach message and activities for events. And also to join at the events, which some of us, I think it's fun. Some people don't like it. If you don't like it, volunteer somebody else who does. And it will also, by forming the committee, forming more new partners, it may help us with our bringing more diversity to the community council. So, does anybody has everybody seen the current calendar of events that's coming up? I know it's been shared a couple times, but I'm going to go ahead and try to share what's coming up in the near future. As you see, we've got events next week and again next week, a couple different events in early October, first half of October. If you have time or want to participate in these events, either you can sign up through this link or you can get in touch with Jamie and Summer as they're doing most of the coordinating of these events. And as I said, I spent half a day at the Leaf Festival, and basically it's being nice to people, talking to them about energy. Though I did ask every 9-year-old boy that walked past if they wanted to get shocked, and they all said yes. Because we had a, I've forgotten the name of it, Van de Graaff generator there, the human-powered Van de Graaff generator. Made my hair stand up on end. Didn't make many other people's hair stand on the end because they don't have this nice wispy gray hair. I'm going to stop sharing now, if I can figure out how. Let's see.
So to piggyback onto what Keith said, we have our events mostly booked. So we're supposed to do 25 events this year, and we only have 3 more left to book. So we have 22 booked or planned, and we've already completed 10. So we have many more coming up. So we do need help out there doing that outreach. But the big ask, and to emphasize Keith's point here, is community partners. We're to do 30 presentations and we've only done 9. As far as workload goes, it's actually really great because as the events slow down, the presentations will speed up. But this is like, it could be anything. It could be Rotary clubs, churches, scouting troops, anything that makes sense. Well, maybe not scouting troops because it's children. We're looking for adults mostly, but you get the idea. So if you're in a soccer team, if you're in a Rotary club, invite us to come present, or if you have connections of people that runs those things, have them come invite us to present. That's what we're looking for on that ask. And the community engagement committee will work on growing that list as well.
And if you want to be a part of the committee, just let us know, because right now I'm chairing this committee. And so with, of course, Jamie and Summer. And so if you want to be a part of this committee, or know somebody who might want to be a part of this committee, they don't have to necessarily be a part of the board, let us know, because it will help. All right. So the next, is there any more discussion on this?
I have a quick
So-
question. I can't remember if I asked this last time, maybe as a question for Jamie or Summer, but is there any sort of connection to a type of event that you table at and the number of people that show an interest in coming by to the table? Such as are events like Goombay or, Leaf, or is it all the same in terms of people who come by the table?
It varies greatly.
No, it is not the same at all. We've been having to kind of learn as we go, but like we've been to a couple events that are already sustainability based. Like we went to Asheville Honey Fest. We went to a Save Pisgah rally where they let us have a table there. And people already in the know are definitely more likely to walk over. So we bought a whiteboard as kind of a easy fix right now where we base what we write on it on where we are. So like at the rally, I wrote, talk to me about a carbon-free future. And that obviously got all these environmentalists to come over. At Goombay, we wrote, come save money on your energy bill. So we're trying to meet them where they're at. But a lot of the events we've done in the past couple of weeks, it seems like it's been so community-based. It'd be really great for us to have already been partnering with that community and the leaders there so that people trust us to come over to the table. So I think numbers wise, they weren't as successful, but now we're trying to build those partnerships. So I think it's been good learning experience.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Summer.
Well, it'll vary greatly on the festival too. So like Goombay, it didn't rain for 2 days and it was decent, and then it started raining, and so it was terrible, right? So you've got weather to contend with as well. But back, kind of piggybacking on what Summer was saying, it's like the chicken and the egg. Like to do outreach, it's helpful to know people. To know people, you got to do outreach. So we got to keep showing up, and that's, I think, part of what we're working on right now.
We are
hear.
tracking all the numbers, and a lot of them are estimates, but we're happy to get that in a document that can be shared with everyone so you can kind of see how we're measuring success of events.
Sounds good. Thanks for your feedback on that.
Okay, we will move on to the next item, which is bringing diversity to the Blue Horizons Project Community Council with Michelle again.
This is more a follow-up on scheduling the DEI training. So we're looking like November. We've had some good conversations with Darian. There'll be a little bit of homework after the October meeting. It'll just be a little inventory to take out to kind of get your brain thinking about bias, which is so fun. And then we'll do an hour training with Darian in November on election day. So vote early.
Great. Was that going to be in person, Michelle?
No, we're just going to do it as a regular meeting over Zoom.
Great.
And we actually were thinking that once the new council is seated, there had been some talk about doing maybe a bigger retreat envisioning session, and then maybe having a component just to refresh, make sure new members also get the same content, and maybe then we'll do something face-to-face with DEI as well.
Great. Sounds good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Michelle. And if we could just talk, if there's anything we need to discuss about the Inflation Reduction Act and opportunities, and also you all did a nice flyer recently, which, so Summer, if you wouldn't mind.
All right, I just shared the flyer in the chat. So we ran some drafts by the smaller group committees, and Steffi created this and made some changes based on feedback. Let me see if I can share it. Hold on. Okay, can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you've seen this before, some of the changes we're adding logos, messing with kind of where things are to make it look nicer, and changing some of the wording. If you have not seen it, this first part, this is going to go on the website and also just be something we can hand to people at events. So the first part is just easy things they can do to save energy at home. These are all on the Energy Savers Network website, and it's been a good resource. So just personal things people can do. And then there's Energy Savers and Blue Horizons Home Energy Chats at the bottom to get people to follow up with us about more things. Then on the back is where we've put the IRA stuff. So one of the things for feedback was to put icons or organize this by like vehicle versus homeowner versus renter. So she added 2 vehicle icons, but Steffi was not sure how to split it up between homeowner and renter. So if anyone sees how to do that, we're happy to, add it on there. But for now, it was kind of a question of how and if it's worth splitting it up, if they apply to most people anyway, regardless of their homeowner versus renter status. I can't remember if she changed anything else number wise, but this is also going to be linked in the minutes. So if anyone sees anything that needs correcting or has any other feedback, it's, we can always change it. I think that's it. Jamie, do you remember anything else about it?
No, that was a great overview. Thanks.
Great.
Just so everyone can see how many things say 2023 on them. So we're sort of waiting a lot on information related to how to apply for some of these credits, what process will take place. Rules are still being written about many of these things. So you can see those. And then of course, there are, the solar and geothermal batteries. Those 2, solar and geothermal, are available now. And we met yesterday with Sugar Hollow, Clary and Doug, and they were saying there's a group in Princeton that's working on a comprehensive overview of the IRA, all the specific measures, the timing, and then how are you going to be able to actually get those, and who is going to be able to apply for those as well. So, there's a lot of excitement about the IRA, and I'd say there are a lot more details forthcoming to be able to make sure that we're able to communicate to the public exactly how to take advantage of this.
I'm not sure what the group thinks, but I would consider changing the heading of the second page to be more focused on the fact that there's oodles of money involved. Maybe change it to be federal dollars for upgrades or something. I don't know, something a bit more eye-catching than electrify everything. I think most people would be more excited to see free money. Of course, it's not free money, but you know what I mean.
Well, I was just looking at it and like the electric stove credit, most electric stoves don't cost as much as they can get back. That's a pretty significant credit. But yeah, I do. That's a great observation, Chris. Make it more clear these are savings benefits they can get with their home.
Yeah,
Oodles of cash.
Yeah, you always see the biggest text first, and you want that to, want you to dig into the rest of the content that's on the page, and focusing on the fact that it's all about free money for upgrading your homes. I think that perhaps would incite more interest. What is that marketing rule? If you lose someone in 5 seconds and you're never going to get them back again, whatever it is, And I guess generally speaking, I think free money is a universally exciting thing.
That's a good idea, Chris. Maybe you want to serve on the community engagement committee.
When I say Rick's got his hand up.
Well, since this topic is up, we discussed this in the tech committee, and a couple ideas did come up that are worth you guys thinking about, and that would be things like, like the solarize. There's a really huge opportunity for this thing with the heat pump water heaters, for example. Literally everyone and our community at large on several levels would benefit from a large volume of them going in. You got to kind of think of this federal money as the money's available, and if we can utilize it, it's money flowing into our community. And so there's one. Of course, the geothermal we could talk about, but the high pump water heaters just front and center because, literally everyone can benefit from that. And I don't think people realize that. And something like a solarize and whatever, I don't know how you do it, but that kind of a thing where you get a whole slew of people to sign up, maybe get a couple of plumbing outfits involved, could be huge and could make a really huge difference, Something to think about.
I have a question from Chris's comment. Part of the balance here is we want to draw people in and there's going to be a marketing piece. How much messaging do we want to be directly from the Blue Horizons project strategy? So greening the grid, electrify everything, embrace efficiency. How critical are those words if we're focusing on those concepts? This might be something to table to the community engagement committee. But I think that's something that we're torn about as staff. It's okay, well, where do we put the wording here so that it makes sense for the committee's commitments and decisions versus marketing 101, free is good.
Yeah, good question, Jamie. Not a whole lot of easy answers. But yeah, I understand what you're grappling with.
So from the community engagement, if we want to meet as a committee, or I even just get together for COVID-free coffee or something like that some morning just to discuss these, I think that'd be good. I may, if with bring Summer and Jamie together, I'll be on the committee and just invite everybody. And if you want to come up and discuss it, that seems like a way to kind of get a grasp or a bigger discussion about that principle. Seems like a really good idea. So unless somebody thinks it's a bad idea, I'll just go ahead and do that sometime in the not too distant future. And you only have to be on Michelle's committee or my committee. You don't have to be on both unless you want to be.
Depends on which coffee shop you invite us to.
Well, at least we're in Asheville, so all the coffee is good.
And did you say you know how to make muffins, Keith?
I make Nirvana bars, which are better than muffins.
Okay.
I've never had Michelle's muffins. They may be way better than my Nirvana bars. I don't know.
I'm looking forward to the email.
Okay, good. All right, and I'm going to add something to the agenda right now before we get into the committee reports. We want to get together as a committee in person because we have not seen other in person in a really long time. And we're doing it for a while, about every 3 to 4 months. Would we like to do that again? And it's not just us, it's going to be the Green Building Council and the greater group and everything. I think that's a good idea. And I'll just go and I'll work with Summer and Jamie to set up a random event evening after work someday That sounds like a good plan. All right, cool. We'll do that. All right, on to the subcommittee and standing program reports. Dave, you're on. You ready?
I'm ready. And I apologize if there's some background noise, but bear with me. Let me know if you can't hear me for any reason. But as for the updates, I feel like we had a pretty good meeting this past month and got some good discussion going through. One of the first things we talked about was all of the community engagement that's been going on that Summer and Jamie and all the other GBA staff have been taking on, and kind of how we can integrate the listening component of that into kind of figuring out local priorities that we can then use to do some program evaluation. And at this point, we're just kind of thinking that we're going to keep our eyes and ears open and try to listen as much as possible and let the priorities and everything that we learn from that happen and come organically. So we're just going to listen and see what folks say. We then kind of talked about the Duke's proposed carbon plan and just had an update about the hearings coming up, which Brad is going to attend. So he's going to try to ask some questions. And as some of you have probably heard, I sent out I made kind of a feeler first round survey that we sent out to the strategic planning committee just to kind of get a feel for what we think is going to have the most impact, what kind of programs, projects, initiatives. And then based on the feedback I got from that, created a whole new, updated, refined, beautiful survey that I sent out to you all not too long ago. So the idea behind that is really like looking at it through our Blue Horizons project lens, also with a good focus on equity, and like, what do we think is gonna help us achieve this goal? What's gonna have the biggest impact? So please take some time to take that survey. It's just a click and drag rank, with 1 being the best. So I'll send that out in another email just as a follow-up, so folks have it fresh on their dashboards on their computers. But that's just gonna kind of help guide us. And then of course there'll be lots of follow-up work. We're gonna dig into some of the winners of what's the scope look like, what are the resources that are needed, what are the funding opportunities, who's going to implement this. There's a lot of other details that are going to need to be fleshed out, but sort of the first step in all that is figuring out what we want to look at more in depth. So that's going to be out there, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about how to evaluate those programs, having some brainstorming sessions and try to divvy out some topics, see who wants to be the expert or do research in certain areas. But we did have a lot of like really good discussion and conversation about the Inflation Reduction Act and kind of how we can implement that, thinking about that as being a really good short-term and immediate tool to get out there and achieve and accomplish a lot of these goals that we're trying to get to. With that also being a possibility for a long term, but just as sort of a tool within our grand scheme. The only one that we didn't necessarily talk about in our meeting, but I know at the last BHPCC meeting, Michelle, at least you and maybe somebody else talked about trying to figure out some of these EV charging infrastructure incentives. So we're working on that. I met with a couple folks, a student from UNCA and Rudy from Land of Sky, and I'm also going to meet with Sarah soon. So we're working on, we're getting there. And I think that about sums it up, unless anybody else has anything that they want to add who was there. Oh, all right, I think we're good to go then.
Thanks, Dave. I'm just going to put so that there is some money for the type 2 chargers still left from VW money. First one round, it was gone almost immediately. There's still money left in that bucket. If you have a place a business who wants to add type 2 charging that has to be public ready. There are a whole bunch of parts, but it can be a nonprofit. It can be any place that wants to hang up that charger outside their business. There's still money available for it. Most of the other VW money for is already, the RFPs are done and we're in the process of deciding, but there's money available there. So let people know. And they can actually call me at my day job because that's part of my job to let people know. All right, I'll get off my.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So technology subcommittee with Jamie.
All right, so Taylor and Rick and Summer, if I get it wrong here, please do jump in. But we talked about products to help folks reach the 100% renewable goal and how to promote those. The biggest thing we focused on was a heat pump decision matrix and providing like a one-page summary for payback, charts, savings, offsets, things like that. And then of course, we talked about the IRA and we looked at the Rewiring America website because that seems to be like a good go-to at the moment. But the idea of the technology committee creating some sort of dashboard based on what's available in the IRA so people can make a decision. And then we talked for a while. Amy Musser was on the call. And so we talked about our M&V for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC projects at Greenbelt Alliance, because we have this funding to go do repair and replacement. And we talked for a long time about what questions we were trying to answer and how it would work. And so we're following up with Amy with some feedback from staff on that front. And then some stuff was put kind of on the back burner till later, but really focusing in on the Inflation Reduction Act. That's kind of where the meeting came around to the end. It might have had a little more structure than that, or a little less structure than that, but that's what I got here on the notes.
All right, any other thoughts from people who are a part of that meeting that they'd like to share? Great, thank you. Community Engagement Committee with Summer. If you don't have anything extra, that's okay.
One thing we did forget to say is we were toying with the idea of when to meet. So we were thinking like maybe the 4th Tuesday or something. We kind of just picked it, but if you want to be on that committee, maybe just email me and Jamie, and then we can talk about when that would actually meet and how often. That's it. We talked about everything else.
Cool. Fundraising and money with Sam.
Hi, everyone. I'll just remind us all that the majority of the funding for this effort comes from the city of Asheville and Buncombe County. We have contracts with both of those entities with clear deliverables that we are in the process of doing on a daily basis. And there is additional funding that's come through the ARPA, which is the Coronavirus Recovery Funding for heating, repair, and replacement for low-income families, as well as neighbor solar. And we also got a little bit of money from the city for replacing refrigerators that are old and inefficient for low-income families. We have been invited to apply for another round of funding from Dogwood Trust. They provided money last year to do home repair. And so that was really beneficial. So we go into homes, we're doing weatherization, we find problems with roofing or holes in the wall or electrical issues, things like that. We can fix those things. So fortunately, they're looking at funding this again. And we also put a little bit of money in that proposal for ESN to make ESN whole. Essentially 70% of the ESN budget comes from the city county contracts. And then the remainder comes from a little bit of Dogwood Trust money, with donors, and then also some Duke Energy incentive money for the specific measures. Speaking of Duke money, there's going to be a tier 2 weatherization opportunity for us to have a contract on coming soon. It's at the Utilities Commission that rulemaking is in process. And so once they actually make the rules, it looks like a nonprofits like ours will be able to apply for that funding. And so right now we get money for doing, tier 1 type stuff, light bulbs, aerators, air sealing, things like that. This will also allow us to do insulation, heating systems, more in-depth things, so well, actually, it'll be amazing. We're going to have there's going to be all this money available for heating systems. There's ARPA money coming for heating systems, Duke Energy money, and now the Inflation Reduction Act money. So, as an entity, we're going to have to choose how do we match the client with a particular funding source. And so we'll be doing that, but there's going to be quite a bit of this coming in. So one of the conversations like Dave Gordon and I were having this morning was around, how many heating contractors are out there? Is there enough they're going to be able to take on this demand coming? So, or, I know entities like AB Tech are in the process of training folks, but, I think that up and coming field might need more workers potentially. And we haven't necessarily seen any Inflation Reduction Act money yet available for initiatives like ours. There's money for the technologies, but we haven't seen any money coming in for the actual implementation, the organizing, the community engagement work that we have to do to do this. So fortunately, we have city county money, but if anyone sees any funding from Inflation Reduction Act or other entities, please let us know, because we're always looking for additional opportunities to kind of fund the capacity work that it takes as an organization to fulfill these goals that we have. And lastly, I'll just say our Greenbelt Alliance annual fundraiser is October 8th. It's called Cider Fest. We have it at Olivet. And it's not necessarily aligned, but it's a good time and it does raise some money for organizations. So if you or anyone want to come out and have a good time, it's music and cider and all that good stuff, and the money goes to support Greenbelt Alliance and all the staff and the good work we do in the community. So that's my report. Any questions or feedback or ideas?
Just one
Thanks,
thing.
Sam.
One thing. There are plenty of HVAC contractors, and when there aren't plenty of HVAC contractors, we're an HVAC contractor. We'll make whatever it is manifest, because we can hire whoever and do whatever. You know what I mean? We'll be glad to use the license to facilitate this stuff. So there's not a question on that front, though I believe there are also a lot of young HVAC contractors who this would maybe be a good opportunity for.
That is good to know. All right, Energy Savers Network with Hannah.
Hey everyone, I'm Hannah Egan, the Outreach and Resource Coordinator for Energy Savers Network. I pop in here every once in a while, but just a quick update on us. We are on track to meet our quarterly goals right now. A majority of the households we have served over the summer have been Spanish speaking, thanks to our project manager, Kelvin Bonilla. And Sam touched on a lot of what I was going to talk about as well, as far as the HVAC contract and projects have been going. They're moving kind of slowly, but the health and safety projects with funding from the Dogwood Health Trust are moving along pretty quickly. We're hoping to serve close to 40 homes by the end of the year. And we're definitely excited to have that contract renewed next year. Yeah, and then other than that, just getting ready I will be working more closely with Summer and Blue Horizons to recruit households for Neighbor to Neighbor. So we had a good meeting with Sugar Hollow yesterday. I feel really good about it this go around. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions right now.
I'm going to add one more piece, which is we were doing upgrades for Asheville Housing Authority. And I don't know how many we did in total. Do you know how many, Hannah? Maybe a couple hundred or something like that over the past year? Something in that range.
Yeah, so I can find that really quickly. So we did 50 this quarter, which was part of our contract, and I want to say it's probably close to 150 or 200 total HAPA units served. Sorry, my computer is very
That's okay. I just want to kind of like essentially mention that, you know, we've done some of those, and then we have essentially like completed our contract obligations for this year. And then it was neat because Alicia Reardon, who is on the Greenville Alliance board and new employee of Duke Energy, connected with us, and then she's able to connect with a Duke Energy program to serve HACA for the remainder of the units. And so Duke Energy has a winterization program for multifamily housing. They go around to basically do tier 1 retrofits. I think Franklin Energy is the contractor that does that, but that was one of those really cool, you know, synergies that happened where we had done a part of it, built a relationship, and now Duke, you know, taken over, and they can do, you know, as many as possible. I think HACA has something like 1,500 apartments in the city, and so we've retrofitted a couple hundred so they can do the remaining 1,300 hopefully.
Yeah, I have 156 units right now, but there might be a couple more that we need to update, but it's around that number.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Hannah and Sam. Any other discussion about energy savers? And so let's move on to Solarize, Asheville Buncombe, neighbor to neighbor, which of course was just discussed also in the last 2 sessions or agenda items.
So we had to sit down with Sugar Hollow Solar, which is the contractor for that contract. And we are ready to move forward. There's a couple houses we're doing with county money, and then starting in 2023, we will be able to do the houses that are that are being funded through ARPA. But yeah, I think it was a pretty productive meeting. I don't know, Hannah and Sam and Summer were all there. We just kind of talked out the details of interacting with the clients and kind of putting them at ease, because it seems kind of scammy to say, hey, free solar system. So how does that look as far as communicating to reach those folks in a way that's that makes sense for everyone? And then Solarize, I think we are kind of on standby with Beloved. I haven't heard any updates recently, so I'll need to check in. But they were the nonprofit recipient of the solar panels from the Solarize campaign. Questions on item F? Solarize and neighbor to neighbor?
Hey, Jamie, are they using the free panels on the Beloved Village or somewhere else?
They're putting it on their... Go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, Jim. I thought I was cutting you off. They're putting on their new operations center.
Thank you.
They bought like an old auto repair shop and have retrofitted it. And then, yeah, I don't know what size system will go on there, but it's like $50,000 is being provided toward the system.
Great, thanks.
It's a big roof, and you can see it from the highway exit. So exit 7 or 8 over there by the Home Depot. Anyway, it's pretty neat. So Blue Horizons project, we've been trying to get folks to sign up for home energy chats at events, but we haven't been super successful at booking people after the events. I think we've done 3 or 4 since July, but we've had like 12 to 15 leads, maybe more actually. So we're still going down that path. Sam made the brilliant suggestion to text the people after you call them. Duh, right? So we started doing that, and then just kind of pounding the pavement, trying to get those scheduled. So Leah has done all of them so far, but I'm going to start jumping in here as soon as I book some more. But that's home energy chats. That's all I got on that one.
Great, thank you. So that brings us to public comment, unless I missed an agenda item, which I usually do, but. So do we have any comment, additional discussion?
Well, if no one else is going to say anything, I'll pitch in at least what I said before, and that is, I think it's really important to understand this IRA is a real opportunity to pull a lot of money into our community and achieve the goal at the same time. And it's a huge opportunity. I mean, like in terms of the geothermal, you're talking $8,000 per system. Basically, you get the ground loop for free. It looks like there's a whole bunch of things associated with heat pumps that we don't really understand them yet. That will be really significant because between the heat pumps and then those people who want to do geothermal, we might bring a huge pile of money in here for doing the work we've got to do anyway. And so it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. It opens a decade of just huge opportunity. And I just think we need to realize it's like something we need to really pay attention to.
So from a community outreach, I mean, I know that we don't know everything that's in the RA yet, but do you think it would be helpful to integrate a session or create a specific session about that as part of the community outreach for people so they can take advantage of it? Because to me, I think that depending on who you're talking to, that can be really valuable to let people know about this and all the different parts.
I was going to say, it's like that flyer you said, oh, with the backside is the money. It's like I was kind of going, is that the backside? I think it depends on the event you're at, It's like, because that could easily be the draw, Free money from the government to do the right thing for the climate, It's like, that could be the pull. Sorry to jump in.
Yeah, and I think some sort of public workshop related to this is a great idea and would be highly attended. So I think once we have a little more clarity on some of the information, hosting something for folks, and doing some teaching would be, it's definitely something we can do.
Excellent.
Somebody may have already mentioned this, but you could just do a quick email blast to anyone who participated in the Solarize campaign. These are people who already invested in solar on their rooftop and maybe more apt to look closely at some of these new incentives.
I think it would be important to be able to explain to people whether they're able to take advantage of the incentives as people who just recently didn't probably get any rebate. So I think we need to have a pretty close understanding of it to do that outreach.
So that sort of touches on something that Sam and I were talking about this morning too, and that we talked about last strategic plan meeting of just trying to educate ourselves also as much as possible on all of the nitty-gritty details of this. People are coming to us with questions and we're trying to, get the information out. Good for us to also sort of be on the same page and be well versed in all the details of it. And I know that's also sort of tricky since they're trying to figure out and still writing some of these things, but that's on our radar as well.
I wonder if it would be a good event. I mean, I bet we should host something for the general public once we have a handle on it. Like, I think people would be interested in being like, okay, how do I take advantage of this?
Here's a fundraising idea for you, Sam. So the rooftop solar tax credit is effective as of 2022 at 30%. So, most people who participate in Solarize and have their systems installed in 2022 were expecting 26%. Now we're going to get 30% on their tax bill. How about ask people to donate that back to, Blue Horizons? That was, not really expected money. They made their decision on the lower tax credit. That could be a nice way to recruit some donors.
Yeah. One thing I've also heard about the IRA is that there's an opportunity for nonprofits, churches, and municipalities to essentially sell their tax rebate on the private market. We don't know exactly how it will go yet, but there's some way in which, for instance, like a nonprofit puts it on there, they don't pay any taxes, but there's that 30%. So there's some sort of leverage or market set up in the IRA that allows them to provide that, sell that to some other entity that wants that tax break. Now we don't know the nuance specifics of how that works, but I can imagine some other big entity coming in trying to bundle those and then sell them, and there might be a market for that. So, we're looking to put a PV system on the United Way building and Beloved, and I imagine that the nonprofit municipal church sector might really make it financially available for all those groups.
Yep, we've already committed to finding out the details on that for one of our clients, a church that would fit. And by my read of the law, it's an actual rebate, if the DOE or somebody has to implement it. So it's or the IRS, that for nonprofits and up to some tonnage. So there's some things in there, but it certainly would fit all the churches. The tonnage is not that high. It's like above elementary school size. So, it's a high number. So that could be really like monstrously significant. And that's one of those things, I don't really like to wave the geothermal flag so much, because I know that, our climate heats are now good enough to be sort of like that. But here's one of those things where it's like, okay, so there's two paths, but we can bring money in our community from this too. So there's other factors here to think about. And that's a big one right there. Nonprofits getting money straight back for 30% on those geothermal systems and solar. Straight rebate.
Well, and as we know more about that, I think that would be another good thing to create, like a one-page thing that you can give to a church about how to take advantage. Because I know a lot of churches are interested in this, but churches are usually not very cash wealthy. Unless they're on TV.
We will find out and share. And if anyone else finds out anything, please share with us, because people are definitely interested.
Certainly. Great. So do we have any other items that we would like to discuss today?
I'd just like to remind everybody about Drive Electric Week. It's coming up a week from Sunday, the 25th of September. It's at the Outlet Mall, and you can find the details at driveelectricweek.org.
Excellent. I'd like to see a Bolt EUV there, because I've gotten to sit in one now, but I haven't gotten a chance to drive one yet. So I'll be at the event anyway for part of it probably, but that's just me personally. All right, well, I would like to give you 34 minutes back to your life from the meeting then. I've never actually ended anything early before, so when I've been talking, so this is kind of unusual for me. I'm not sure what to do. I could tell you the story about my chickens, but you don't want to hear that. All right, thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.
Meeting.
See
Thank
you.
you.
all.
You.
Bye.